Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam, and to our farthest right, per usual, is Rex Shady Nero. And guys, boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages, guys, there's a lot of Call of Duty to talk about today, my goodness. So obviously we had the kickoff event. We're going to be going over, reacting to that. We have a lot of news to cover as well this week. And we're doing our season-long predictions as well as some juicy fantasy draft royales to talk about. Community draft royale we're going to be talking about in a second. So stick around for that announcement. But before we get into any of that, guys, I got to ask, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like a canister of Germex, and I'm just putting it on my hands, cleaning up, and I'm feeling clean and spicy and that sweet, sweet sour smell that Germex provides.
Sour?
What?
Would you call it sour? I don't know about that.
I've never classified that smell as a sour smell.
Yeah, but I mean, good to know you're clean, Rex. You know, I wouldn't want a dirty Rex around here.
Well, speak for yourself.
But of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can watch on YouTube. And he's going to town on the sour smelling. What is it called? Purell?
Just makes you sad pog over there.
No, yeah, that's some sad pog. But oh no,
gosh, there it is.
But if you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review, and we haven't read a review in a minute. So today we are reading one. Rex is taking it away. What we got today, Rex?
Go for it.
All right, today we have a shout out or a review from No Free Shoutouts.
Ooh.
Josh is my COD Bay is the title.
Oh,
5 stars. This podcast gets me fully torqued every time I hear it. Josh's soothing voice asking his buddy what's going on
what's
really
going on?
ruffles my feathers. Bash and Rex are okay too. I guess.
No,
He says,
this is
I
the type of
guess.
review I like to see.
Thank you. No free shoutouts.
My man.
You picked that review for a reason, huh?
Oh, that was a good review.
Yeah.
But Josh is the real moneymaker here. He makes me swoon.
Ka-ching, baby. Let's go. Wow.
I'm out of here.
A flaming review. Things I love to see. A little
All right,
pat on my
Rex,
back here.
You want to start Best of 2 podcast?
And I was the one that made that review. No. That was a review from myself. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, obviously. And of course, today we're starting off with a DraftBuff segment. They're back at it again, sponsoring the show. Guys, you got to feel good. Shout out DraftBuff. And we are announcing we're doing a community draft royale.
Let's go.
So before anything else, the link is down in the description, and
baby.
you can join it. Link it down in the description. On YouTube, it's the pinned comment. If you don't know what DraftBuff is, it's basically fantasy football, but for Call of Duty, man. And so if you've played fantasy football, fantasy basketball, you can play fantasy Call of Duty with us, and we're going to have your teams. A draft royale is a type of game mode on DraftBuff where it's basically like a daily fantasy style where you pick your ideal lineup with a budget for that event. And this year, their draft royales are actually a season-long format, which is pretty exciting, which I think is a way better way to do it than what they did last year. And so as throughout the year, your position each week with where you finish in the whole group for the draft royales, you get point totals, and then it actually keeps track of it throughout the whole season. So we'll be able to compete against each other. I'm going to take your money, although, you know, at least we're going to be having a fun time on the draft royale talking about it. But we're going to have to do like an exclusive Bo3 draft royale. Yeah. And then I won't take your money.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's just say that's about how it's going to go. Because we all know who's going to win that one. It's as obvious as it gets. But obviously, like I said, DraftBuff is great. And they really have a nice site. They launched their web app, and you can do it on your phone as well. Again, click the link, join the battle or the draft royale to compete against us. Yeah. And we're going to talk about our best values for the lineups this week for the Atlanta Home Series.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I am excited. I mean, obviously my lineup is going to win the group. I mean, that's just a guarantee at this point. But Rex, give us what you believe is the best value out of any of the players that you can select this week.
The best value? Well, of course, I'm taking Illy right off the start.
Yeah. I
he's
mean, that
be
was
MVP
one that stood
this
out.
year. Illy, and I think he's probably low. Like, he's not going to be the highest priced one. I think he's going to be in like that upper middle range. I think he's going to be a good buy. He'd be my first pick.
He was surprisingly affordable.
Yeah, he was. I think he was 75 or 70.
Maybe less than that. But yeah, he was surprisingly affordable. And I will say I have him on my squad currently. Although that is, once I give away all my secrets, I might have to change my team just for the sake of not getting copied. But Illy was definitely a value this week. So I like that one a lot. Sam, which one do you got? Illy was 60.
Wow.
That's a robbery.
Best value of the whole.
It might just be Illy.
No, the best thing is for sure Neptune. 40.
Neptune's a good one too.
40.
That is really good.
This dude, that is a steal. I mean, we saw how he performed. Obviously, that was one match, but I think it's safe to say Neptune's going to be putting up some serious numbers. And for only 40, when like the average top SMGs were like 80, 75, 80, that is a steal of a deal.
That is interesting.
So Neptune is on my team, if you didn't figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with the fantasy how they dialed up the scores. Like, yeah, Neptune is surprisingly low. I mean, you know, when you look at some of the other, like Dallas Empire, the team is 48. You know, like that's pretty crazy that he's at 40. I mean, there's definitely some guys near the bottom that are pretty valuable. I'm gonna stick near the top. I do think that Illy is the best value, undoubtedly. Like based off what we saw what he was doing. Oh my goodness! But
he's a killer, man. MVP.
I will say that Shotzi is the fifth most expensive player, and I think there's a decent argument for him being the most expensive player.
I was gonna say I was shocked by that,
and so I think for whatever reason, especially considering Dallas's group, which we'll be talking about here later, the group that Dallas has. I mean, it's not that intimidating, and so obviously you do have to consider the matchups for these guys moving forward. But it's like, I don't know, man. I really like the idea of snagging a little Shotzi Illy combination here in the lineups, which is what I currently have going for me. So that's my little stack advice. So those are some guys to consider. Does anyone want to throw out one more name potentially? Maybe a team that might be a little bit undervalued in your opinion. That I was looking at it and I thought, you know, the bounce back for LA Thieves potentially could be there.
That's what I was thinking
with their
too.
group. They're currently the fifth or the sixth most highest priced team. So that could be interesting. And then, I mean, Paris Legion's at 26.
You never know.
But here's the thing. Paris.
I mean, I don't know, bro.
They could surprise everyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, that's interesting. The Rocker at 28, although they didn't look specifically great, but again, they were playing a team that could be pretty solid in Toronto Ultra as well in the kickoff event. So I think the Rocker's one that is to look out for as well. Do you have one in mind?
I will say, like, one player that could potentially be a steal is Diamondcon at 40.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, they're both down there. That's interesting.
So I don't know. I feel like picking him up might be a steal if you're not high on Neptune, which I don't know why you wouldn't be. maybe Diamondcon would be more your style there at only 42, and potentially put up numbers for subliners as well, which we did see him play pretty well.
Yeah, so those are all really interesting. So again, if you want in to compete against our unstoppable lineups, I don't know why you really want to do that, but if you want to join in the fun, tweet us your lineups, and we'll definitely give you guys a few shout outs, maybe rank your teams. I mean, probably like 0 out of 10s because they're going to be terrible. Let's be honest, compared to the God squads that we're putting together. But if you want to compete, again, links down in the description. It's going to be a blast, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, shout out DraftBuff, and shout them out on Twitter if you're really into it, and share it with your friends. You can do leagues as well, season-long leagues with teams of 8, and compete against your buddies. Maybe throw some cash on the line, have some fun with it like fantasy. I mean, I've already taken all their guys' money, so it's, I don't know, it is a tough time, boys. It's really tough out here.
Wow.
Now that I've used up every joke about taking people's money.
Have. That horse is dead and beaten.
I've beaten that horse a few times. So let's get into our quick question today, which was from the Twitter.
It sure was.
And do you forget again to do this,
Let me just pull it up.
Oh, my word. But
you guys, here's the thing.
While we're at it, the really fantastic question from this incredibly gorgeous, handsome user was, whose legacy would a CoD Champs ring this season help the most in the CDL? I thought it was a really, really cool question. That's why we chose it. And shout out this really handsome user who did this, who made this question. Rex, do you have one in mind off the start?
I'm thinking weird. I feel like maybe a BZ.
Really?
I mean, help the most. I mean, everyone on the Florida Mutineers.
Oh no! Why is Sam laughing?
This guy's name is Texas Formal.
Oh, dude! Shout out Texas Formal.
Texas Formal, baby. I love you.
Wow! Of course you chose that one.
I sure did.
Oh my word! Anyway, Rex,
the
sorry.
The thing with a BZ is like people kind of have a tendency to overlook them because they're always looking at simp. But I think a BZ made an argument, at least last year in Modern Warfare, at being
simp.
The,
That's what they say to me,
like
man.
The most like underlooked player, even though everyone still thinks he's amazing, but everyone just thinks of simp and not a BZ. If a BZ is able to lock in another ring, and he's able to,
but if a BZ
perform
locks in a ring.
super well,
but
then,
if a BZ locks in a ring, so does simp.
Well, how come simp is considered like the greatest player that's ever lived, but a BZ is just like he was also there. He was good. A BZ was super good, and he was there. But no one gives him the credit like they give simp that credit.
I mean,
and I feel
if
like
a BZ is
deserving
nasty,
of it too. I think a BZ will be nasty.
Well, if a BZ's undoubtedly the best player on FaZe, and then they win, then 100%. Then I agree with you. But it's just for me, it's gonna be hard for it to help him significantly more than simp. So I could see that argument though. Mm-hmm. I like that one a lot though. I mean,
you could say Clayster as well because everyone's like
then
online champs doesn't count, and then like he was on the best team. Everyone thinks he's carried to everything. If subliners ended up pulling out a chance.
That'd be a Tom Brady-esque thing. It'd be like he goes to the Bucks, Brady's in the Super Bowl now. It's the same thing with Clay. If Clay won with this team, it'd be insane.
It'd be incredible.
He would be undeniable.
Yeah, so I do agree with that one. That's actually really interesting. Yeah. Does one come to mind for you?
One popped up was Kenny.
Oh,
he's been second at champs twice now.
I mean, that'd be huge for the whole temp too.
Yeah,
I mean, that would
temp them too, but like. I feel like Kenny is like one of those guys that like people probably like, I don't know. There's people that do think highly of him, but there's some people that are just like, Kenny was good in World War II and that was it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think him coming out with a ring this year would be huge.
That means in 3 of his first 4 seasons as a pro, he'd be in the top 2 in champs. I mean, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one too. One that would come to mind would be Attach. If Rocker won one, and Attach now had 2 championships on like very drastically different games at AW and early in his career, and then now in Black Ops Cold War, that'd be pretty crazy, and catapult Attach basically like into the top 10 all time probably, which would be pretty cool. So that's a cool question. I mean,
I like
either way, I really like that question, and that can get us right into our news segment here. So without further ado, let's get right into the news.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Oh, baby. So obviously a huge week of news when it comes to formatting and scheduling and elite series and challengers and roster changes and so much more. So we're going to try to get through this at a decent pace here because we got a whole bunch to talk about today. My goodness. Yeah. But let's start off with the hotness. The full CDL schedule was officially announced or leaked, or I don't know if they meant to release it, but either way, we finally got the official schedule. Obviously, we knew the format, but we didn't know the scheduling. We have the Atlanta Home Series February 11th. All right. February 11th is the Atlanta Home Series. Then we got, and this answered our question. It's Home Series, Major.
Right away.
Back to back. So we have a lot of Call of Duty in the work. And not to mention, we'll talk more about the Elite Series, but the Elite Series is scattered in between those. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're going from COD to COD. Then there's a 2-week break. So a little like a little breather. And then you've got stage 2. Mm-hmm. And then it's back to back. 4 straight weekends of COD. And then same thing with stage 3. You've got a 2-week break. And then it's back to back. And there's a little bit of a theme going on here.
There is a little theme.
And so, I mean, thoughts on the schedule. They don't have all of the home series knocked down, but they have the majority of them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if like there's any chance any of these home series end up being lands. I would be surprised at this point. Yeah. It's more likely that the majors themselves would be lands, right? So thoughts on it as a whole.
Yeah. I am very excited. I was really hoping when they announced this that it would be the back-to-back-to-back. I was curious about if they would do space between the third home series and then the major, but I think it does kind of make sense to go right into the major and then have the break right after the major.
Yeah, for sure.
Just kind of keep things rolling with like, you know, the groups you're getting, you know,
it's gonna be a lot of momentum.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of momentum. So I'm very excited. It will be interesting though. I think I see myself possibly missing a few matches with, you know, 4 weeks of matches, like what, you know, a couple of matches.
Even though it is a few per night, but like that is a lot of like, it's a lot of nights of the month.
Yes. So like I could see myself potentially missing some matches here.
Live. Of course.
Live. Yeah. Live. I'll for sure watch them back, but which is kind of sad, but at the same time though, that's not like the worst thing in the world to have happen.
That
makes
sense.
But you know, I think it's there's a ton of Call of Duty. It's gonna be great seeing everyone at the majors again, and I'm hyped. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed, Rex.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I mean, I've always been a fan of like having those breaks at points just so like teams have time to like practice and get better. So the way they have it organized here is like, yeah, you have back to back to back, back to back to back to back, whatever. 4 of them.
A lot of backs.
Like all in a row each weekend. There's always going to be content. And then you have the Elite Series mixed in with it. So like it's just going to be nonstop of just like anytime you want COD, it's going to be available.
Yeah, which is exciting, man.
And then I really like the breaks in between because then it just gives those like teams that time to regroup and get better during that time.
Or roster changes or whatever it is, yeah.
Right. And so I personally have always been a fan of like those little breaks here and there just to see how much teams can improve and what surprises they can think of in between those.
Yeah.
So I really like how it's
I'm a
set
big
up.
fan of the consistency. It's just like, you know how it is. It's 4 weeks of COD and then like basically the full week off, 4 weeks of COD, full week off, 4 weeks of COD, full week off. Last year champs ended on August 30th. It was like that kind of, you know, the extended format where it started on like the 19th and it ended on the 30th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you be okay with that? That'd be exactly 1 month from the last event to the start of champs.
Yeah. No, I think if you start champs like after like August 19th, like give it like a little bit more than like a day.
Because you'd have AM champs in there.
Yeah. Like I think that's perfectly fine.
Right.
Like that's worth the wait because then like you get teams to go like dumb hard in practice too and all that. So I don't know. I'd be okay with that. But
I like that schedule if COD comes out in October. But when COD comes out in November, this year was
hard.
An eternity
it was
to wait between champs and our first event.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if COD doesn't come out till November and we don't have an event till late January again, like that, we gotta speed up the schedule somewhere in there. But that's a whole year in the future. But that is my only worry when looking at the schedule. I'm hyped otherwise, so we're looking forward to it. Overall, I think that's like pretty good like thing overall for the schedule. We got our official groups for CDL Atlanta, which we'll be doing our full on predictions for next week's set of matches. Obviously, we got the groups and then we got the schedule. So in Group A, we've got Dallas, we got the Empire, we got Thieves, Rocker, Ravens, Subliner, Surge. In Group B, we got the other 6 teams, FaZe, Chicago, or Optic, Mutineers, Ultra, Gorillas, and Legion. So, I mean, did you guys enjoy the selection show, first of all?
I did, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they should do that every time.
It was obviously pre-recorded.
Yes.
Right.
No, I thought it was cool. It was a fun way to do it. So
yeah. I mean, are you excited? Will you be excited for it moving forward? I guess would be
like if they keep doing it that way.
I mean, supposedly they're going to keep doing it that way.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think
I
really
will
cool.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it is kind of interesting. You get a little bit of an idea of where teams are at with certain like. They basically were doing it in like a power rankings type of way. It was like all right, who do you think's better? You know, the Rocker or the Ultra, or or whatever. And so it was like it was an interesting, conversation in that sense.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fun. I'm looking forward to it in the future. Again, we'll go in depth on like matchups next week. Obviously, we're kicking off with Rocker versus Thieves with the first event of the Call of Duty League season officially on at 2 p.m. on February 11th.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit earlier in the day for America, for the United States. So, I mean, are you guys, how do you feel about that? I don't necessarily love for you, it's like work, anyone who's working 2 p.m.?
Yep, I'll be at work the whole time. So,
which, I mean, hey.
Hope my boss isn't listening.
Which there's a decent chance he might be.
Might be. But
Pull that up on my phone.
Yeah.
But I
definitely will not have it up at work.
No,
definitely not.
For
right?
sure
No, not. Yeah.
It is an interesting time.
That's a big priority for Europe. I mean, obviously that they're really trying to prioritize Europe in the main to have like the good time frame. It's a little bit weird that you're sacrificing like, you know, I mean, that's noon for Pacific time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that.
Yeah,
like,
I'm wondering what their plan is going forward, unless we already know.
Like, obviously,
it is 2 for.
I mean, because that's like two games on Thursday.
Yeah.
2 games on Friday, which is 2 p.m. and 3:30, and then Saturday you got the daytime game. So then it's 2 p.m., 3:30, and 5, and then Sunday is 2 p.m., 3:35.
Yeah.
And again, you're ending that weekend with the Optic versus FaZe match, which is lit. But it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't love the time frame, but I mean, hey, shout out Europe. You're winning here with the primetime matchups.
Good job, EU.
Yeah, so I don't know. Over any other thoughts on the whole stages, the scheduling, anything else, or do we kill it?
I think that.
I mean, are we talking about which is the easier group?
We can give. I mean, I think we all kind of know which one the easier group is.
Group A got blessed.
Right.
Why Chicago decided to throw Rocker over there?
See, again, this was
then FaZe throwing Thieves. It's like, how did Mutineers get way down there?
Right.
How? Like, I don't even. Mutineers should definitely be in Group A, but somehow they didn't.
So Optic basically decided they'd rather not play against the Rocker, right, instead of the Mutineers.
Which
is that what happened?
No. So
I mean, Hex was just like, I think Hex just kind of threw caution. He's like, whatever, because Formal said he'll play against anybody. He doesn't care. And
yes,
but it's weird.
I should have remembered that.
Chicago picked Rocker to be in the opposite group,
which left the Mutineers in theirs.
Yes, they did not want Rocker.
But again, this was recorded obviously before the matches.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing is like this was obviously based on scrims. So it's like scrims told a slightly different story than what we saw.
The Mutineers do to FaZe.
Yeah.
The Mutineers in scrims have been looking pretty good.
Yeah, they have. And I think a lot of teams saw them better than the Rocker, which is weird that Optic would not think that.
Yeah.
I saw Mutineers better than the Thieves.
Maybe it was more of like a personal, like, maybe they struggled against Rocker more than Mutineers.
It might just be a personal thing.
So, yeah. Which will be interesting going forward, like how much of like will that affect, like, maybe like Empire can beat FaZe all day, but they can't beat Mutineers.
Right. So, I mean, the question is like, obviously, you know, it matters a lot because based off your group standings, it depends on whether you start in winners or losers in the majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to brush up on that. It's the top 3 in each group.
I think so.
Start in winners.
Yes.
Which means that 3 of those teams, which, you know, in everyone's heads would assume it's the Ultra, Gorillas, and Paris, got the short end of the stick and will be starting in losers.
Yeah.
I feel real bad.
Which sucks for them. But I mean, and, you know, the other side is Raven, Subliner, Surge, where, you know, but there's a lot more room to be had there. Whereas like it feels like, you know, FaZe, Chicago, and Florida are 3 of the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
Right
Group
now.
A is so unpredictable. Like Empire, you know, is going to be there. But then the rest of them.
Right. So it'll be interesting.
Thieves or Rocker will probably make it. And then, it really could end up being any of those teams.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be fun. So like I said, next week we'll be going matchup by matchup and really looking at like the full on stage 1 predictions and like matchup predictions specifically.
Yeah.
And that'll be a blast. So be on the lookout for that one next week because that's what we're going to really dive into. Today it's going to be like the full on season long prediction stuff, which will be a blast. So, all right. Let's move on to like the roster stuff. Obviously, we took a long time there. We're already like 30 minutes in or so, or 25 minutes in. So we'll I'll try to keep it short here. Roster moves. Obviously, Rex and I did a little. Sorry, Sam.
Hey, it's okay.
You know it happens. We had to record during the day. You were working.
It happens.
But Rex and I recorded a little video about Zoomaa and the whole situation. But right after we recorded the podcast, Zoomaa announced his retirement, obviously.
Yes, that was insane.
So I guess real quick, Sam, give us your opinions on the Zoomaa thing because ours are already out on the interwebs.
So out of left field. I just did not even think.
It sucks, man.
it really is heartbreaking, and it sucks.
Did it hit you somewhere in the feels?
It did. I was like, man, Zoomaa. Like, I did not think he would be the next person to go. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we talked about our bold predictions.
We did.
Was it like who was going to retire next?
Yeah,
and
I can't remember.
We said like Slacked and
Probably,
other
yeah.
guys, and
but yeah, no, and you know it sucks for him too. Like, you know, he did not want to do that.
No, for sure.
It just sucks. So I hope there's some way somehow he can come back. I don't know if he will. He may just start doing content.
Right. The fact that like Scump and Formal are like, we didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
So it's like, this wasn't even inside the players.
Yeah.
This literally just came straight out of Zooma's head. Like, boom, retirement. So that's what kind of surprised me. Rex, do you have your thoughts developed since last week?
I mean, I think when we did those, did I say Zoomaa? I kind of thought he might be one of the people to retire. I didn't think he'd retire because of like an injury or anything.
Right.
I feel like, and I'm speculating here.
Okay.
I feel like it definitely is a thumb injury. He's definitely had that in the past, surgery, whatnot. But I don't know. I was getting a sense in scrims that he wasn't fully passionate about it as much as I guess he used to be. And he might have been thinking to retire a few years down the line. And this happens, and he's probably like, you know what? It's not worth it to just keep trying this. So he retires.
Yeah.
I think subliners could possibly, in a weird way, get some sort of upgrade from this.
Yeah, that's a bold take because I mean, like, I know the Optic fans listen to the Huntsman show, and Scump was like, Scump and Formal both said he's their best player.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the public opinion is going to believe that Zoomaa is their best player.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to. You're the jury. You're gonna have to prove to the jury here that.
I'm not sure that Diamondcon's gonna be that guy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
So
then you have
that's other
Asim and
news.
Hydra's whole thing. If Hydra comes back,
Right.
but Diamondcon was looking pretty good.
Yep.
And in my opinion, New York played better against the Empire than I thought they would. A week's worth of practice, and like honestly, those games could have gone both ways. Like they lost P2 a lot. Like they just got killed on P2.
Yeah.
The control was so incredibly close. Yeah, I don't know. I see a potential upside for subliners here. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll talk more about them probably when we react to things, but like they did show some promise, I think, against Empire. So yeah, the other part of that newsy stuff was that Diamondcon did replace Zoomaa as their flex, and then the issue was that Asim officially joined the subliners. They finally signed that contract, which we talked about last week. We were like, why is Asim not signed it yet?
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
so weird.
weird.
And Hydra could not get here. They couldn't figure it out. And they did not pull the London where they had zero playing from London. So that was pretty crazy. So that was that kind of news. We'll talk more about them probably a little bit later in the show. John is back.
He's coming back.
Which we did mention a little bit last week, but there's an update there. He was playing this week. Two things. He was playing GBs with Aches, Mox, and Lacefield, and he was scrimming this week as well.
Yeah.
There's a chance he's like back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's been seen scrimming also with Noisy, Gunsy, and one other person.
Yeah.
And that just happened a few hours ago today.
Yeah, I could probably find that tweet. But yeah.
But
Thoughts
so
on John?
I feel like John is I think he's trying out different teams because I think every team probably wants to pick him up other than like WestR, Mochilla. So like, I think he's trying out different teams to see where he thinks he fits in best.
Yeah.
The thing with the Aches, Mox, and Lacefield thing, they already picked up Parasite, and I haven't heard news about Parasite leaving that squad and trying to find a new one. So a little
It'll probably
shady
happen.
stuff there, but we'll see. When I watched them play, I thought Parasite was one of the better players playing on that team during their scrims. But we'll see what happens. We know how things go with Parasite. And John's a pretty big upgrade.
Right. I mean, John will have to fight his way through the thick of the AM scene right now. I mean, with the Elite Series starting up, he has no pro points. So it's going to be a grind for him in the midst of the AM scene for at least a little while, unless a pro team is, willing to pick him up as a sub, which is very likely, very possible.
Yeah.
We'll keep our eye on the John situation moving forward. And then obviously we did mention, did we mention this last week? I can't remember if that London picked up Afro as a sub officially. Did we? I can't remember if we mentioned on the podcast.
I don't think we did.
Who knows? But Afro was picked up as a sub.
But Afro is officially picked up for London, which is, was much deserved. We talked about this a lot last year, that Afro is very deserving of a spot, and he was so successful last season. He's exciting, man, and I think is definitely a guy who could find himself in the CDL here soon. So,
oh man, I just want to see them play in the pro scene. Hydra and Afro both.
I know, man.
There's supposed to be like these all-star guys from Europe, but we're never able to see them play against like the big boys.
That's the unfortunate side of the 4v4 switch. Hopefully we get those expansion teams next year, because that'll be really fun, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the other aspect was that Zero was stuck in the UK.
Yep.
And the Ravens were reportedly looking at Paulex to be the guy to fill that spot in case he couldn't play. I did hear conflicting reports, though. I had another person tell me that LAG had offered him a 2-week contract, and he turned down both offers.
Yeah, so
Supposedly.
I know Ravens offered Paulex a 14-day contract.
And that was reported by CDL Intel.
If you don't know, Paulex is on the best team, WestR.
Yep.
Which I think's a bold move, but I honestly respect it. Like, he's staying true to his teammates, and since they're doing so well in challengers,
with the money in challengers right now, it's not that bad of a play, honestly. If they can,
they're like smoking them, and they got the Elite Series, and then imagine expansion teams later on. That core 4 could just get an expansion team and just be picked up like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that crazy. I really don't. Or if you're one of the teams that's really like, if you're halfway through the season and WestR is still dominating the AM scene, and you are a team at the bottom of the CDL, it's not that crazy.
No, not at all.
If as long as your contract situation isn't crazy right now, you could potentially just pull the trigger and pick up that whole team. It wouldn't be the craziest thing ever. Yeah. I mean, that would be crazy that it actually happened, but who knows? The other piece of news is that Felo found his way as a substitute as well. Felo is a Dallas Empire substitute now, which is pretty exciting. And shout out Felo, obviously a former pro, a great player, has seen tons of success in the AM scene in the past year and a half now, and he's a pro level player. I mean, obviously for a reason.
Yeah. That his Triumph squad was phenomenal last year. Yeah. So I hope he's able to still play and still shine in the AM scene, because I think he does still have a lot left in him. So I definitely want to follow him, what he's doing. So yeah, we'll see
for sure. So let's talk Challengers Elite then, because that kind of transitions into that. So they officially finally announced the full-on format and scheduling for Challengers Elite, the Elite Series. Thank goodness. I mean, we've been waiting on this for so long. The Elite Series. And it's really interesting. So what we found out, which we kind of knew what it was going to be like in the broad sense, was 8 teams from NA and Europe, and the top 8 teams in pro points, quote unquote. Not necessarily though, because the top 32 will be playing in a qualifier.
Yes.
To qualify for the first Challengers Elite Series season.
Correct.
So the whole format is there's going to be 5 seasons.
Yep.
And they will begin on February 6th, and then February 13th, February 17th, 22nd, and 26th of June. So all the way through there.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. February 6th, March 13th, April 17th, May 22nd, and June 26th.
Yes.
So that's kind of the whole schedule. Yes. Basically one for each series, or each
major.
Major. Thank you. For each major in the CDL.
Yes.
So it's pretty exciting. So basically how it's going to play out, they announced that all of the league matches will be broadcasted on YouTube. Thank goodness.
Not the qualifier.
Not the qualifiers, but hey, we'll take what we can get at this point with the league series. So do you want to explain, Sam, how the format works a little bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically for the very first season, there's going to be 32 teams. And that's going to be basically you
in the qualifier.
That's going to be seeded by your pro points. That's where your pro points matter. And
it's going to be a wild tourney.
It's going to be crazy.
Not broadcasted.
Yeah.
Because why would you broadcast an epic tournament? I can't wait to watch Shift.
I know.
Shout out
Community stream. Yeah. So out of that 32 qualifier bracket, 8 teams will be left, and that is your first season 8 8 teams
who qualify for
the
one.
first season. So then once season 1 begins, there's going to be 3 weeks, 2 days sessions. So week 1 is going to be February 9th and February 10th. Week 2, February 16th, February 17th. Week 3, February 23rd and 24th. And just to let you know, those are the 2 days prior to the first major home series. So basically it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Challengers. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So, I mean, you were getting a lot. Only 2 days off where there's not a COD match being broadcasted on the CDL channel.
Yes.
It's pretty exciting. This is what we were wanting. This is what we were wanting. What we were hoping. I can have COD on all the time.
Literally.
And that was for season 1.
Yes.
And each team will be playing 7 regular season matches
minimum
for each season.
Yep.
And then there's a weird caveat.
Yeah. So here's the caveat. So at the end, you're going to have basically your first through 8th place based off
the 7 matches.
Based off the 7 matches. Bottom 2 teams are relegated instantly. They have to go through qualifiers again for season 2. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place are going to compete in a knockout bracket and a single elimination bracket. So I'd assume it'd be 3rd and 6th, 4th and 5th playing each other. The winners of those 2 matches then qualify for the next season. The bottom 2 are relegated. So what you have then is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They have secured their positions into season 2. However, there's a weird thing that is noted here is that there's going to be a 4-team playoff bracket once the top 4 teams are selected to determine 1st through 4th place.
So, like, this is so weird. So,
it's very convoluted.
In theory, you could be in 6th place after the 7 matches.
Yes.
But then you could win the league.
Yep.
So, it's really weird.
Season,
So, you could, the season.
Yeah.
So, you could be in 6th place. You beat the 3rd place team, securing your spot into the next season of the Elite Series.
Yes.
But then you and the other team that won then get to play against the top 2 seeds in the championship bracket.
It's very...
So it is a little confusing, but when you think about it in that sense, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
And then, so you could go from 6th to 1st after the first 7 matches in theory, which is a little crazy. So thoughts on the format as a whole?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty engaging. We're not exactly sure what days the championship bracket of the 4 teams happens.
Yeah.
If it's on the last day or if it's like both of those days, we're not exactly sure. But besides that, thoughts on the format, right?
Yeah.
Or Sam, do you want to start?
Also,
Sam, start off.
I'll start.
Wow.
I'll start.
All right.
That's good. Decisions are being made here. I think it's great because I was wondering if it would be if each season for the challengers would take place on the break between majors for the main league. So like if that was the case, like that'd been cool. But this seems to be almost like more consistent where it's like there is a easy to follow, like before Thursday you're gonna get 2 days of challengers matches.
I like it.
So like I think for viewership and the casual audience this makes sense.
Yep.
Because basically it's just saying, hey, these challengers are being played. They're just be playing before the main league is played. I maybe would have preferred like a 2-week like gauntlet in between the breaks just for fun, But this kind of does give obviously the elite players breaks too. So like they don't have to play like a week straight of Call of Duty.
Players can also play in the cups if they want to, right? But they just can't get the pro points of the cups.
Yeah. So basically they're saying elite players can enter cups, but they can't earn points, but they can earn prizing.
The money.
Yeah. Teams
so WestR can just run it up.
Yes.
If they want.
Teams with a mix of elite players and non-elite players are allowed. The elite players are subject to the above, which they're saying elite players cannot get pro points.
But you could team with not your elite team?
Yes.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So I don't know why you do that. Maybe someone is more focused.
Because you want to play with John and make him money.
Yeah. So like that's cool. Like where they're not limiting these guys. I'm not sure how many will want to do that just for like losing focus on the series. I don't know, but so
that's cool.
Yeah, that's
Rex,
my thoughts.
I personally like it. It's going to be a constant flow of just like COD content all the time, which I like. Especially, it also gives a lot of eyes on the amateur scene, especially with the Elite Series. It's more like formal way of looking at it, and it will be streamed. I I like it a lot. I'm really curious about what teams are going to be consistently like in each season, or if there's going to be a huge, just like dramatic shift each season.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's my curiosity. But, you know, by the end, you're probably going to find who are legitimately like these really good teams. Like we expect WestR probably to be in it through all 5 seasons.
I do like that a lot. So like it does allow for the really good teams to guaranteed there's not going to be some fluky weird thing where they lose in the qualifier. Like they will be in it, so you can have those storylines running throughout the whole thing. I do hope that there's like a good amount of like diversity in like what in the outcomes and like what I don't really want to see WestR just run the table the whole season.
Yeah.
Right. I want them to have competition as well.
Yeah, so hopefully they have some competitions. And the EU scene is going to be really interesting as well that scene's been going crazy lately. So the competition's like at an all-time high in the EU.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Like the continual storylines, the relegation aspect is awesome. So I'm in. I'm in on that for sure. I am interested to see top 32. Like John could, in theory, like, you know, sneak in there.
Yeah.
If he teams with a really good team
Points.
who has a lot of points, and they think that he's just better than the guys that are that they could get up that have a lot of pro points, and they're willing to take like a 30 or 26 seed, he could sneak in. That'd be sick to have John. If we can get John in the challenger scene or in the elite series, that'd be sick. I'm in. But overall, I think we're in a pretty good spot with that. We'll talk more about some predictions and thoughts on that hopefully next week as well.
Yeah.
So that should be a wild time. I think next week's podcast is going to be absolutely stacked.
What do you think is going to happen
predictions.
if these, like, you know how like LAG Academy and like, what happens if LAG Academy's team doesn't make it into the Elite Series? Do you think they drop their roster?
I would imagine
pick up
so.
people that are in the Elite Series.
I'm not exactly sure how the contracts work though. It would just kind of depend on the contract. But yeah, that is an interesting thought.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, like if that like pushes these teams like the academy teams to do better, and for pro teams to even have academy teams in the first place.
Right. Like or like maybe the pro teams will pick them up once they qualify for the Elite Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with enough time, like this could grow into like something like really big. Because it's COD, but we're not going to see like the pro COD, but it's set up the same format as last year. We have like the whole like tournament format for each, I guess, event.
And in theory, anyone could win it. You know, like in theory, we could make a team and then run the table next week. I mean, watch out, WestR. I mean,
it's just
0
an
points.
amazing platform to see what amateur players have a possibility of being picked up. Because you imagine that they would feel obligated to pick someone who's been doing really well in the Elite Series.
Right. I mean, dude, think about the money.
And we can see them play and like how good they actually are.
I mean, the money in the Elite Series right now is better than how many years of COD? I mean, quite a few. I mean, like up until maybe Ghosts, where you had that consistent COD champs money every year to like to pump up the prize pools. But like before that, I mean, this is way better money than that.
Oh, yeah.
And like even more consistent money than Ghosts, because those years were just carried by one big tournament. Those champs.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty crazy, man. It's really cool. I'm excited to see what it can turn into, and there's a lot of potential there. So with that said, the last few things here, we're gonna talk more about the snipers and smokes officially getting GA'd. Probably in just a second when we talk about the kickoff stuff. The last few things besides that is YouTube account linking. They announced that, which you're going to be able to link your account when you're watching the CoD League to unlock weapon charms and double XP stuff and calling cards and emblems. And then, so that was pretty interesting. Maybe they announced a little bit more stuff on that moving forward. But it is good to see the integration, I think, as a whole for the viewers.
Yeah.
And any type of stuff is good, I think.
Yeah.
Although with skill-based matchmaking nowadays, the average casual won't even see it in game because they're not playing against the good players who have this stuff anyway. But you know, hey, it is what it is. At least. I mean, team locations, real quick. I mean, that'll probably relate to what we're talking about here in the kickoff stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, at this point, you know, LAG is the only team, one of the only teams that's not in Texas. When you look at the tweet, obviously CDL Intel put it out, which this is going to relate to what we talk about here in a second. But I mean, Empire's in Texas, Optic is, Thieves is, Rocker is, I mean, Legion, basically. I mean, they all are about to be, if not already are. And then besides that, you've got half Texas with Subliners and Surge. And then FaZe is at least in Atlanta, which is great internet. I mean, the team that obviously sticks out is the Gorillas, who are in Los Angeles. The only West Coast team. Everyone else is East Coast or Central. So we'll talk about that in a second as well.
Yeah,
That's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it'll
So,
be rough.
With that said, I think we can get into our kickoff predictions. Let's talk about who the best in the game is, maybe right now. My, oh my, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to this kickoff reaction. We're going to try to keep it a little bit shorter because we want to leave a lot of time for our talk about predictions and going to town on some of these scenarios that we're going to be talking about season long. And we'll talk about a lot of these things from the kickoff in that conversation as well. So, we'll try to be aware of that. So first of all, obviously, let's just talk about, let's each give the biggest surprise. And if someone takes yours, just, try to make a follow-up. We'll see.
Yeah.
Rex, start with you. What was the biggest surprise of the weekend for you?
Oh, man. I mean, maybe, Gorillas versus Surge. Surge they didn't look as good as you would hope that they would be.
No.
They lost to the Gorillas.
And again,
honestly, the whole series of Surge versus Gorillas, it just did not look good on either side.
I actually agree with that, yeah.
But Gorillas pulled it out, and I think Gorillas are better than they were last year. Surge also
Apathy the vent god.
Oh my god.
Apathy came.
The
Donk
vent
mode came engaged, which I loved. Mutineers versus Atlanta FaZe also. It's a tough call. What was the most surprising one?
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense, Sam.
Mine absolutely was Rocker versus Ultra. I thought that was going to be reversed. Like, Rocker couldn't win a hardpoint against them.
Yes.
Which was crazy to me.
Yes.
Like, I was like, what in the world? So just to make sure I'm getting this correct here, Rocker lost. Well, okay, so first game was close, 244 to 250. Ultra
no, that
won.
was a crazy one.
And the second,
what map was that? Was that Garrison?
has map TBA. That's nice. The second hardpoint was
I could pull it up
134
right
to 250. Ultra again. So I thought for sure Ultra would take the S&D, but Rocker won both S&Ds, which is why they won in the first place. But Rocker did not look as good as I hoped they would.
No. Again, I do think that this team's going to be like a type of still figuring out their roles and getting comfortable with things type situation.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's almost February.
Yes.
These teams have played a lot of Call of Duty at this point, but there's still a lot to figure out, especially in a competitive setting for these guys. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'll give a little bit of leeway with Rocker. Mm-hmm. It is tough to say with some of these matchups because it's like, all right, you only get one perspective, and it's you and your opponent, and that's the perspective. So it's like, okay, we got to see Rocker and how they look against a good Toronto team.
Absolutely.
Like, what if they're both really good? Or what if they're just both really bad? And that's the question with all of these matchups is like, were these teams just really good, or were they just not very good? Like that's like kind of what you have to sift through with that. But I don't know. I agree with that sense that it was a little bit surprising. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have to say the Mutineers situation was, cool. Very surprising. Like with how they played in S&Ds. I mean, they won both S&Ds.
Yeah.
FaZe only took the control and the hard point on map 1 in Garrison, and I just put out a learn from the pros about that. But like, Mutineers they were up by like almost 70 points in that heading. It was like 200 to like 130 or something, 180 like one. It was something right around there, and they were dominating, looking really good. So it's like Mutineers, and to take off S&Ds against the Mutineers when you have Neptune on that team, who's like, again, we haven't seen Halo translate immediately to S&D most of the time. And then, Slacked, who was on Seattle last year, who was definitely not a great S&D team. So it's like for them to come out and play how they did, crazy, man. They, we're not doing power rankings yet, but they are definitely top. I mean, if there was any question that they're not top 4, they are definitely top 4 now.
It was a huge statement. Like to come out and beat FaZe.
Like, we're here.
FaZe was like the most hype squad, and Mutineers take them out, which is pretty.
Dude, it was
pretty
wild,
cool.
bro.
Right.
Yeah, so that was 100% like the biggest surprise for me. So with that said, I guess then we can go on to which team do you feel like you learned the most about? Which could be a little bit different of a question than biggest surprise. Yeah. Do you have one that comes to mind off the top of your head, or one that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think for sure with Optic, I think they look comfortable. Like they I think it's safe to say that like they are in a much better place than they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, although they did win the first 2 matches against Empire last year, and then how that turned out. But I don't know. I definitely questioned Dashy's role and Dashy's choice of like them choosing
how that
Dashy.
was gonna play.
How was gonna play, but I think
He played disciplined, man.
Yeah, I think their roles look pretty good. And so like probably that's probably like the most like just like solidifying that their roles make sense. And that like Dashy should be there. So like that was pretty cool to see, honestly.
When it came to Optic, I mean, I did learn a lot about Optic. I mean, I did a little bit of a breakdown with them in the breakdown video posted. And like what was crazy is like the thing that I was trying to learn about Optic was who's gonna really be their Slayer and who's gonna be more of like the support type guy, because I couldn't really figure out if it was gonna be more Envoy, if it was gonna be more Scump. And it ended up being both of them. So what happened in the hard point, Scump was the Slayer, but in Control, Envoy was the Slayer, like really being the one who was like slaying out, pushing out from map control. And he went off on the 11th spree at the beginning, and that was crazy. And we saw the 11th spree from Dashy in the first map. I mean, they looked. I mean, Optic fans are riding their high horse right now.
They are excited.
I mean, based off the comments, there's no doubt they're winning champs. I mean, for the Optic fans right now. So Rex, thoughts?
Do you think LA Thieves played bad, or do you think Optic was really just that much better?
I don't think LA Thieves played well.
Mollywopped them. Optic destroyed them.
They played horrible in the Control.
And people were really high on Thieves.
Thieves had no idea what was going on in Control, it felt like, which was weird.
Do we have another Optic like a last year's Optic situation with Thieves?
It didn't.
3 of the same players. They just added one other.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be.
They want to blame it was the internet, but like now they're in Texas and then they just got 3-0'd.
Again, we know Slashers teams are slow starters. We saw this with Thieves in BO4. We saw it last year with Optic. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again this year.
Yeah, no,
But like, what about Ultra? I think Ultra came out pretty much doing what I expected them to do. I think I predicted Ultra to win, but they came out pretty much with like the same sort of like foundation that they built last year. You would think Thieves would have a similar sense of that because they kept 3 of the same players. And then they added Temp. Yeah. And you would think that foundation was there, but then it seemed like it was just, there was nothing. Like it was, I was appalled by that matchup. I thought Thieves would put up a little bit more of a fight. I didn't think they'd win, but like it was no contest. Chicago was just destroying them. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, like when it comes to like, the Thieves did not play good COD. So the question is this going to be a permanent issue or a very temporary issue? And
this is a Kickoff Classic thing where no one really cared.
Right. And we do know that about, that is a team that could lean into not caring as much. I mean, they have those personalities where it's like, it's not like, that team is just a carefree team. And we saw on the CODcast, no free shoutouts, that Slasher was like, we're going to take this seriously. Like, this is going to be like legit for us. Yeah. But it's like, at the end of the day, I think, Optic came to play. Yeah. And it didn't feel like Thieves did. But I don't think it would have mattered even if they emotionally did come more to play because they weren't playing fundamentally good COD. Yeah. Like there was just legitimately issues with how they played together, legitimate issues with their spawn knowledge and control and how they reacted to like Envoy in the spawn and like those types of no pro should be able to go on an 11 spree against you when he's the only one in the spawn. Like, crazy. You should be able to find him, like at some point. And like that was it legit. There's like legitimate things there. So I feel like I did learn a lot about the Thieves in a sense, like, okay, they have a long ways to go as a team, but I do think they'll get there. Like once Slasher gets his hands on these VODs and be able to see the full mini map and seeing how the good teams played it and what Optic did, because usually in a scrim, you're not able to see that. You're able to see the coaches is only able to see your perspective. And so that's,
I don't know.
So that is interesting.
Convinced. I'm not convinced. I don't know about LA Thieves. I don't know. It feels like an Optic situation from last year, to be honest. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So I think they'll stay in the middle of the pack, even lower.
I guess we'll have some fun conversations to be had then. Yeah. Okay, so in that same vein, is there a player that surprised you the most? There's one that is blatantly obvious. I think to all of us, and I'll just give this one away. Bance. Holy moly.
Dude, he was...
that was not what I was thinking to say. Oh yeah, Bance.
That's not what I was thinking, but you're right.
Yeah.
Bance
was insane, dude.
No, he's
way
good.
heads and tails better than he was last year.
Yeah.
And that Ultra Squad, I'm really growing to respect them just because the way that like they were really headstrong about keeping that team. People really were mad at them for keeping Bance and not Classic, but Bance showed up.
Dude,
And-
Bance went 37-22 in the Garrison hardpoint when Kleenex went 17-31. And they won with Kleenex going 17-31 because Bance was frying. And then they play on Checkmate 33-18. And Bance was dominating. Like he looked so good against
I
a
think Ultra's
talented
going to be
team.
the Ultra we knew last year, honestly. Near the end of I feel like their foundation is still there and they have potential to keep growing that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because I was kind of railing on Bance preseason. I was like, Bance should not be on this team. And then sure enough, oh, look at him.
Yeah. Shout out Bance, man. I in my video, I did like a little apology segment.
Did you?
To Bance. Because that was impressive, man. Okay, so what was one for you guys? Rex, you have one?
I mean, I guess I was thinking of Fire 40. I mean,
Shout out
more
Fire.
so out of curiosity because, like, I really had no idea how well he was going to be able to pair up with these guys. But he honestly did really well for me. I thought
We're
he was
bringing
really
it back. What's wrong with Paris? Welcome to What's Wrong with Paris.
good. And not a lot, apparently.
Yeah, not a lot, apparently.
I mean, they
Let's
beat Ravens.
go, baby, Paris. They came
And,
out
like,
to play.
They really did. And Fire is honestly feels like kind of the heart and soul of that team. Fire seems to be like that connecting block that teams seem to need to keep moving. And Fire seems to be that guy. And I loved it. I think Paris won't be the worst team in the league.
No.
I think they'll be middle of the pack.
Yeah, I actually
Could
think they
even
have
climb
legit.
higher.
I think they have legit potential. I mean, I don't. They were playing against a London team with
That did
0
not look
on
good.
bad ping. And London
Right.
did not look good. It looks like they had barely played S&D, but they did win one S&D, and then Paris got 3-0'd in the Garrison control, which it's hard to get 3-0'd in Garrison control, like because of how those defense plays. So that was one thing that came to mind for me.
That control,
But Paris showed potential, man, and like with that roster, that it's interesting. So I agree, man.
I'm excited for Paris.
I
I'm
am
going to
too,
be looking
dude.
at them all season.
You're back on the bandwagon. Let's go, baby.
Man, I thought you guys were going to say, like, Neptune was, like, the top. Like, holy crap.
Yeah,
This guy came out of, no one, like, knew his, like, we knew his skill in Halo, but, like, he showed up. The dude was frying.
yeah.
And versus FaZe, like, supposedly, like, top 2 team.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, a conversation we were gonna have in a second was, which rookie impressed you the most. So I guess which rookie impressed you the most? If you said
Neptune.
Fire,
Oh, for
Rex,
me.
did Fire impress you more than Neptune?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I mean, I think it's because I knew Neptune. I kind of knew
okay,
what
I see.
Neptune was going
I
to be
see.
going in. Fire, I was a little more clueless about. But Fire, he really was. He's the heart and soul of his team.
Yeah. I mean, all three of them seemed to be like legitimate pros.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. I mean, it just shows that so far we're like, based off of everything we've seen, we are, out of all the AMs that have joined in the past year and a half, we're like, what, 5 for 6 of guys who've come up from the AM scene, basically. So, unless you count Fero, 6 for 7. So it's like pretty crazy hit rate of good players coming from the AM scene right now. Of course, we don't want to crown, Neptune the king of the sea yet. It's like we've got the amount of puns about Neptune that okay, Miles was on fire, by the way.
He was.
Dude, Miles was on fire
is my favorite caster.
with the puns.
My favorite caster.
Throughout the whole weekend, he was just flaming, and no pun intended when it comes to Paris. I mean, it was just. I mean, again, we had no Maven and Merc, which was something else. With this was a whole different thing. But I mean, the Chance and Miles did a good job. So shout out them.
Excellent job.
Yeah,
Excellent job.
And I definitely cracked up on a few Miles puns that he was throwing in there.
Because Miles is a genius, dude. I love Miles.
Hey, Miles, come on the podcast.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. So, so you said Neptune. So he surprised you the most out of any rookie.
Oh yeah.
I would probably lean Neptune as well, just because I mean the fact that I knew Mutineers were good, and I assumed that they'd play well pretty early on, like it'd be very competitive. But to beat what makes Neptune the most impressive is that they won both the Search and Destroys.
Yeah.
And if he's doing that, and there was moments there where Neptune in the Learn from the Pros video I posted today, there's a moment on that Garrison where, like, he like waited to pinch with Awakening and like was very mature patience for a hardpoint player to like pinch together and hit the hardpoint to break the really unbreakable P2 hill. And so like to seeing that, like I'm like, wow, okay, Neptune is a pretty dang mature COD player already. And we're not even in our first official event yet. So that's where I get pretty excited about Neptune and the Mutineers. Like I might be hopping on this bandwagon, man. It's pretty crazy. So
Mutineers could go. They could take it. They could. I mean, we haven't really seen Empire be challenged yet.
No,
that's the difficult call.
Right. So I agree with that one. So, is there any other like player thoughts that you had about anything specifically that we want to address before we talk about like maybe a little bit of the meta?
Diamondcon, I think he played pretty well.
Yeah, we want to
just for a week of scrims coming in. Like,
yeah, let's talk New York a little bit then because obviously it was the first match of the weekend. They got 3-0'd, which is what everyone basically assumed. And Clay in his tweet was like, "Oh, we lost to Dallas in the scrim. GG's."
Even before he was like, "I can't wait to play the scrim today." I'm like, "You're already chalking it out, dude." Come on.
I mean, it was unfair. I mean, they're playing on like a week of practice with their team.
Week of practice, with a whole new player coming
against
in.
Dallas. Like it's going to be impossible. I mean, to be fair, they put up more of a fight than I thought. It took some insane clutches to like win some matches, and Illy looked like a literal god. And we'll talk more about him in a second.
Don't say anything.
I'll tell you, I have been. I got a little mad at Asim. Not gonna lie.
Oh gosh,
I wish Asim. I don't think he was playing that well during this. I think if he played better, that team could have taken that control.
I agree.
They could have taken a map off of Empire. And if they took a map off of Empire, that would have told me, I'm like, there's really good potential here. A week of scrims and to take a map off of Empire.
Right. Yeah. So
like,
I'm not, I mean, you're not chalking New York yet, are you?
I'm not chalking New York. I am a little low on Asim on the stock poll.
Okay.
He's a hardy guy. He's got a lot of heart and passion.
He's GameStop 5 months ago.
Yeah, sure. But like he just, I don't know, like it just wasn't working out for him, I guess, today. We'll see what happens in the future. He's a team player, but he just need a little more. Everyone else was kind of doing what
we need him to be a blueberry. Yeah. All right. Anyway. Crickets.
I wish we'd talk about all the series, man. Oh.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, is there anything else that comes to mind? I mean,
Seattle Surge, are they going to get any better? Like, do you think they're chalked? They're playing on Texas against an LA Gorillas. And LA Gorillas won. Apathy went donk mode, but like neither team looked very good at all.
In my review video, I definitely talked a little bit about how I am more than a little worried about Seattle.
I'm worried big time. Prestini, though. First map, atrocious. But after that, he really picked it up, and he's honestly looking like the big slayer for his squad.
Yeah. I am not high on them at this point, which is it's just crazy.
Everyone's
man.
hyping up Gunless. Everyone's hyping up, Looney and Octane, but like they just aren't. I don't know. They didn't have it together.
Sam, thoughts on Seattle
on the kickoff?
Yeah, I think they just got like a ways to go to figure things out.
I mean, again, the potential's there still, but like, do we want this team to be what London was last year? Basically 4 months of, well, what if they become this? And then,
I know.
I mean, eventually ironically, they did at champs, but literally until champs, they showed nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this was one match and it was, one day. So like some of these teams could be performing completely different. Because obviously, again, like in scrims, the groups were picked based off scrim performance, and scrim performance was a little bit different than what we saw with the.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we can take some stuff away from this weekend, but at the same time, I think there's room for things to change too. So.
Right. I mean, it was a game 5, but again, it's against LAG, so it's like it's hard to kind of gauge where they're at. Like if they were playing, if they were playing like a rocker. What happens in this series? It's hard not to say a 3-0, right now. So that's what makes it tough. It wasn't ideal. They split the S&Ds. They split the hard points. Seattle won a crazy control match on Garrison. Yeah. I think it was Garrison. And it's like just a wild time. So, all right, I think that with that said, I think we can get into our pretty spicy season-long predictions. Again, next week, we'll talk a little bit more about certain teams here and things we learned from the kickoff reaction in this season-long prediction. And then next week, we're going to go into full-on predictions for this upcoming event. So we'll talk everything we missed this week. We'll talk about next week as well. So a lot going on. With that said, let's finally get into our season-long predictions. Let's go.
Going forward in time, to view alternate futures, to see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
Okay, so season-long predictions. We got some interesting categories. We did see the whole CDL Intel thing going around.
Yeah.
With everyone saw that thing going around, but we're going with the categories we're going with today. Our champion, runner-up, the best regular season team, the worst regular season team, the MVP of the season, rookie of the year. Then we're going to give the Darkhorse team of the year, and then the Darkhorse player / sleeper of the year. And then we're going to go the best AR award, the best SMG award, and the best flex award. So we're going to have some pretty juicy ones to go through today. And I am very excited to see what you guys have to say. So where do you want to start with this? Do you want to start off hot with the champion, or what do you want to do?
Let's do it.
Let's start with champion.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're starting with the champion. Sam, set the table.
Oh boy.
Who's winning the Call of Duty League 2021? Are we assuming Champs is on LAN?
I don't know.
Does it change your prediction if it's on LAN?
Not really. I'm not really tied based off online or LAN. I don't know.
The whole season's going to be online, I think.
Yeah.
For the most part. I think Champs is going to be on LAN, though.
It'd be cool. I would like to see it.
So if that changes anything, keep that in mind. But all right,
really.
set the table. What's happening this season? Go into the looking glass.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've got a feeling that we're going to see a repeat. I think
A repeat.
I think Empire take it again.
That would be insane.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really set us a nice picture for us, but hey, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why is that?
I feel like you have the core four of that team. Obviously, Clayster was important, that part of the team, but you have four players that
they are balanced.
They are just so balanced, and they work so well together. It's the tastings of a dynasty. It's the tastings, and you have Illy improving. You have Krim playing main AR, which I think that role suits him so well.
At this point,
he's performing so well, and
he's
they're
a bossy son of a gun.
Yeah, and they're only getting smarter as a team. To me, it just seems like they may just keep on upward trending.
The definition of gamers, they can't get off that game.
Exactly. I don't know. That is my feeling for this year, is that Empire will just stay strong.
Yeah, Rex. Are you
Empire.
in this? Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like
Empire,
okay, Rex,
dude,
set the table because
sure.
Sam did a horrible job of setting the table.
I think
Paint the
Empire's
season-long
gonna do it.
picture.
Illy, like Sam said, is only improving. Illy is gonna be MVP this year. Just the way
Spoiler!
That chemistry of that team and how it functions is set up so perfectly well. I'm not even thinking Krim's like a top AR, but even if you replace Krim with somebody else, I don't think that team works as well.
Yeah.
It's the way all four are connected that makes that team so good, and the fact that they're all really good players at their roles. That's why I think Empire is just going to run it up again and take it. We haven't seen them challenged yet. I want to see them against Mutineers and FaZe, and Optic for that matter. Optic looks really good, but LA Thieves also looked like trash. So who knows? But Empire, they're strong, and everyone is scared of them. And I don't know how they're going to get weaker. I don't know how. They're setting the meta.
I agree with you in basically everything you're saying. There's no way in the world Empire is not a top 3 team this year. There's quite literally a 0% chance that Empire is below top 3 in the standings by the end of the season. They are the most 100% guaranteed good team that we have this year. They're going to be a good team. It's just undoubted. The the only thing for me is like there might be some X factors there with the drive, the extra will to like that championship, and I think it's going to be on LAN. I think it's going to be on LAN. No, I agree. They don't get off the game. I mean, Shotzi, Illy, Hook, and Krim are 4 guys that don't get off the game, which is why I agree with you. Like they have the ingredients for a dynasty, which is why it's scary for the rest of CDL. But like,
oh, for sure, dude. Yeah.
I mean, FaZe and Optic they're right there, man. They are going to be nipping at their heels the whole season, and I want to buy into the Optic hype.
I honestly do too, a little bit.
And I mean, it's so cliche to say it's 4v4. It's 4v4. Scump and Optic. You know, Scump and Formal, they're back on 4v4. A Black Ops game. It's BO3 all over again. But like, from the COD that I saw them play, they were playing really good COD. And I agree that Thieves wasn't. But we've seen them in scrims since Formal's got there, since Formal and Dashy have got there, and they've looked really good. The question is, can they stay focused throughout the whole season? That's the question. And as far as we know, the past 2 years, they have been incredible for the first 3 months, and then it's just like, oh, they should be really good, and then they are pretty dang good, but they've never been able to get back to that point after the first 3 months.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So the question is, but right now, they are not the best team in the game. They aren't. I mean, maybe they're second, maybe they're third, they could be fourth. We don't really know yet. And I could see this drive only kicking into place moving this year. My mind leans Empire. This was a tough one for me to start on because I'm very torn. I mean, before I pick one, I want to hear your confidence levels in Empire for a COD championship.
So you don't really know a team's true colors until you see them bleed, which we haven't seen Empire bleed and we haven't seen Optic bleed. They both played teams who were not playing at their max potential. At least Subliners was not playing at their max potential.
You're right.
And LA Thieves is just a mess, and who knows if that mess will be cleaned up. That's where, like, I don't know. I am riding on either, like, Optic or Empire.
I mean, the fact that we haven't mentioned FaZe of the Mutineers, though, they are very worthy contenders.
They are very worthy contenders, and maybe that's what it looks like when 2 really good teams play. But the thing is, like, you saw them both bleed. That's what makes it easier to be like, oh.
Optic or Empire.
Honestly, right now, for some reason, I'm thinking FaZe maybe not as good as I thought they were going to be.
Really?
And that's just me throwing caution to the wind, and like that's just like my gut reaction.
That feels like an overreaction.
It is an overreaction. I'm choosing not to believe that, but something's telling me, I'm like, something is not, they're not as dominant. And Mutineers is looking really good, but Empire seems to be just in like this other playing field. Like they've just gotten better. But I haven't seen them bleed.
Yeah, man.
Optic bleed,
it's
and that's
so
the tough
tough. At this moment right here, without us seeing any other matchups, like in my head, it's like a 35% or 30% Dallas Empire, like a 25% chance FaZe, and a 24% chance Optic. But like when you project it down the long term, it's like there's a LAN factor. I think we're gonna have LANs by the end of the year. I think Champs is going to be on LAN, and then you give a little bit of an edge to Optic. We've seen Champs LANs. We've seen Optic on LAN at Champs. They always play better than what you think they're going to play. Oh, it's an insane season, man. This season's going to be so crazy. There's 4 legit contenders right now. So legit contenders. And
I mean, I'm more up on Optic than I was last year. Like, I was not really on the hype train with Optic last year, but this year, I think Optic has the potential to, like, be good and stay good.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one we're picking is the runner-up. So I'm gonna give both mine at the same time. Okay? So I'm going to say... See... My X factor is that Dallas is going to be, I think, the #1 seed, which gives them a huge advantage in champs. So they're going to be in the finals.
Mhm.
They're going to be in the finals. It's hard to imagine that they're not, because again, how the chance format works is the top seed it's like last year. You get a bye into the further rounds. So I'm going to say Dallas is the runner-up. And
Wow.
Who'd you just call champion?
I have not called a champion yet. And the champion is Atlanta FaZe.
Oh.
Interesting.
So in my head right now, I'm so unconfident about this. So I'll let you guys go. Who's your runner-up right now?
I think I'm going to go with Optic, honestly.
Florida.
I think Optic's going to be my runner-up.
Florida.
Crim would feel good beating Awakening in the finals.
I think Florida make a run. I don't know. I think this team has potential. It is a long shot.
My thing is like Florida feels like the type of like they figure the game out. They're young
early.
guns.
Exactly.
They have some weird advantage right now.
Yeah. If I had to give you a percentage, it would be like 15%.
Yeah, this is your more like
yes.
Yeah,
This is more like my bold prediction.
which isn't that bold after this weekend, but
Yeah,
no, I get you.
It's fun. But yeah, no, that's who I had.
It's really hard to project that far.
Yeah.
I wish I could be more like slam my fist down and say, this is happening, but I can't.
Right.
I can't honestly say that right now.
Yeah.
And I need to see a little bit more Call of Duty. So I'll go FaZe champion runner up. Empire and Optic is sitting right there on the pedestal at third probably, but man, I can't wait to do some predictions for this upcoming weekend next week because it's like, or the event next week. My goodness. So okay, I guess we kind of already gave this one away too. Best team in the regular season, Dallas Empire is going to be the best.
The easiest
team.
group. And
They have the easiest first group, which gives them a little bit of a leg up moving forward. Yeah. I think Dallas Empire being the best regular season team makes a lot of sense. Are we all in agreement there?
Yes.
Okay, so we got a three-way agreement there. Spicy one now. We got the worst team after the regular season. This hurts no matter what you say. Who's going to be in last place in the regular season? I don't have any. There isn't any obvious one to me.
No.
It could be like a literal mixture of any of the 6 teams, and I feel like someone's gonna get pissed no matter who you say.
Yeah.
So
here's my sort of bold take.
Okay.
Which people may see it as an overreaction to this weekend, but I can see London not figuring it out.
Dude, I was thinking the same.
I can see London not pulling it together.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna be a contending team all year.
Really.
I mean, Zero was on 150 ping. It's like you're playing a man down. They've had a lot of inconsistencies with scrimming with Zero right now, and they haven't been able to get the best practice in.
But here's the thing: Alex was probably their worst player during the thing.
Yeah, I do
was
agree.
Not impressed with Alex whatsoever.
Alex played really bad for his
team.
team.
Again, I'm trying not to put too much weight into one kickoff.
No,
match.
no. Like I know people will say like that's why I'm picking them. It's because they lost to Paris, but I don't know. There's something about this team that the chemistry doesn't seem.
I mean, I wasn't high on London going into this thing.
Yeah, chemistry just doesn't seem there with these players. I don't know what it is, but that would be my semi-bold prediction of a bottom team.
That's tough.
Yeah,
because I mean, it just feels so unlikely for so many of the teams. Like, I think we know that Toronto's going to be competitive. We know we know that Paris is going to be at least semi-competitive. So at least for me, it's like between probably right now in your head, it's got to be between London, Paris, LAG, and Seattle.
Yeah,
I have Paris higher. I think Paris is going to not be worse.
But
again, we're basing it off of one series that went to game 3. Both of those matches went to a game 5.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, my 3 that I'm bouncing around is LAG, Seattle, and Ravens. I don't think there's other teams that I'm really thinking. I mean, I could see Thieves just doing bad, but I think it's just going to be an Optic situation from last year.
It's the same situation as last year.
I don't think they're going to be the worst team.
Yeah. They'll bring it back.
But yeah, it's a tough one. Part of me wants to say Seattle, to be honest.
Dang. It's tough for me to pick LAG after them just beating Seattle, but if I'm playing this thing out in the long term, right now I do believe that those are probably the 2 worst teams in CDL. And
Dude, they played so bad.
But in the long term, I still expect Seattle to have a little bit of an upside advantage because of the inherent talent of the players on that team.
Right.
So
and
it's like
Pristini's showing up like he does, and like Gunless and Looney can get it together, and even Octane, to be honest.
Right.
Then they could really pull something through. But the problem with Pristini has always been his consistency. Can he be consistent?
Yeah.
The first map, he was atrocious. Then after that, he was I think probably the top slayer on his team.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is like in theory, London and Paris could be the two worst teams, and then you saw Paris win, and they won in a game 5, and they're like, okay, like, I mean, that was it. So it is really hard to say based off of one series who the worst team could be. This is why it's a tough pick. I'm gonna go LAG.
Yeah.
Even though 3 of them won World War II champs.
I hate saying it, man. I hate saying it, but yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm thinking LAG too. I'm gonna stay with Seattle Surge, to be honest.
Dang,
because
that's tough.
Whatever, bro.
That is so tough.
That would be so tough.
Insane.
I don't know.
be
For
so
some reason,
tough.
I just feel it happening. Something in me tells me
If
that
they could
they're either
never
gonna
figure
make
it
some
out,
substitutes,
I know.
like something like they're just not gonna be able to get it together. Like, let's say they just lost. We have some known to be toxic players on that team. When a team is doing bad, that's when things get really, really toxic. So I can only imagine the cesspool that they might be living in right now.
Yeah, that's wild, actually. I don't know, man. All right. Well, with that said, we can keep moving on here. MVP. I mean,
Illy.
Rex, give your speech. Wait, Sam?
I'm
Also
agreeing with
Illy?
Rex. Yeah.
Illy, dude, I think Illy's, again, the heart and soul of Empire. Everyone wants to say Hook is, and even Hasher wants to say Hook is like how they centered around him. And like, yes, they did, but Illy is the one who keeps those guys passionate and motivated because every single time he is just having the time of his life.
I think we're going to see a payoff to him just working his butt off, like from waking up at 6 a.m. on game day to shoot
Grinding
bots
the
for
hell out
4
of it.
hours. You know what
Dude,
I mean?
that's
Like
just Illy, man. Yeah.
that just seems like, I don't know. I think we're going to see a whole different Illy this year than last year. Like just just major improvements.
He has even
Man.
more room to shine. How do you think Shotzi like found that spot that what was the map? I don't even remember the map's name anymore. On Piccadilly. I bet you anything, Illy had a part in him knowing where that spot was. Illy is the one who knows these spots and things like Illy is just a weirdo and nerd who knows stuff. And I think
you love
he's gonna
it.
be the guy.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a really good player.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. Like, if there was, if there's odds for an MVP vote, Illy's obviously in the top 3 right now.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a few interesting ones I'd like to say. I mean, there's like the obvious ones, Can I give my Darkhorse MVP?
Sure.
I mean, it's not that much of a Darkhorse because he was an MVP contender last year. But I mean, like, based off what we saw, man, Skies could easily win the MVP. Skies could easily win the MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, he was insane. He was nasty, man. Oh, my goodness. So, I mean, he was an MVP candidate last year, so it's not that dark horsey. It's like, but it feels a little surprising based off of just it being the Mutineers.
Yeah.
But I'll give my actual prediction. I mean,
Envoy.
it could be Envoy. It's not that crazy to say Envoy.
It's not. I've grown a lot of respect for Envoy.
No, yeah. I don't know. I mean, Illy's the obvious one because I don't want to say Illy. That's so lame. Can we give some other candidates in your head? Let's give some candidates. Illy, Shotzi, Envoy, Simp, Abizi, Celium, Skies.
Off face.
And then you could dig deeper with some of the other teams that still have a chance to dig out of the mud there with all the middling tier teams. Like, you'd have to have a team really like catch fire here soon though if they want to win MVP. I mean, last year Shotzi won it and he caught fire basically. He had one bad event and then besides that he was good and then he was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it could easily be Envoy. It wouldn't be surprising if the CDL wants to give it to. I mean, I'm sure the CDL would be inclined to give it to a Huntsman or I'm sorry, to an Optic player. My bad. I'll say Envoy for the lulz. I'll say
There you
Envoy
go.
is my MVP
If
prediction.
Optic won, I would say Envoy as well.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Envoy is the heart and soul of his team.
Yeah. So,
But I think we're forgetting Awakening here.
oh, I do like that. He should at least be mentioned in the MVP votes.
He should be mentioned. He's another like Darkhorse MVP, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, otherwise you're looking at like, the Optic team. I mean, the LA, oh my goodness, the LA Thieves team. I'm still stuck in 2020.
Yeah,
man.
you are.
The LA Thieves team, you're looking at Rocker, like, could. I think I had a bold prediction that Priesta won the MVP.
Mhm.
I mean, that would take their team really like stepping forward here.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at Toronto, but it's like, I don't really see that happening. And you're like,
Yeah.
is New York going to catch fire? Like Diamondcon MVP, Mac? I don't know. That seems pretty
if
unlikely
New York caught
too.
fire, I would say it's probably going to be Mac.
Yeah, that would be the thing. So, there aren't as many obvious MVP candidates as you think there would be, honestly. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll finalize mine as Envoy. I'll stick to my brand at this point, being
There you
the
go.
yeah, you know how it is. So, okay, Darkhorse team, the team that let's say the team outside the top 4 that you believe right now has the best chance to win champs. Or the biggest surprise team. If you want to, like, you can play with that a little bit. But
Mhm.
who's the dark horse team for you right now that'll come out of the woodwork and surprise the world? You have one? Sam?
I was thinking LAG because
Interesting.
the reason
That would be crazy.
yeah, the reason
Wowzers, considering
Yeah.
you just said they're bottom 3.
no, I know, but this is the dark horse.
Wow.
It's the dark horse.
I like the narratives.
Yeah, because when we talked about like preseason, Apathy had to be the slayer of this team for this team to go far.
Apathy and Vivid.
He literally
Good count.
showed that he can do it. And so if Apathy keeps up this pace where like he's just donk mode, I don't know. This team could be a contender. Again, it's a dark horse. It's kind of a long shot, but I don't know. There's some world where this team does well considering Apathy is going off.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason I was so down on them preseason was I didn't think Apathy could be that slayer, but he kind of showed that he definitely can be.
Right. I mean, it is tough when there's only 12 options for teams and then 4 of them aren't allowed to be chosen. So now there's
Yes.
only 8 options. And then
Yeah.
3 of the teams are absolutely, it seems like there's a pretty obvious tier break.
Yeah.
So it is tough to call like one of them a dark horse when all the teams are they're all incredible pros.
Yeah.
Rex, who's yours?
I mean, I really, really want to say New York, but the thing with New York, there's just so many question marks in my head. So many question marks. It's hard for me to say that.
Yeah.
I think they have the potential to grow, but I don't know where that growth is going to come from.
Right, that's
but
my
it's
thing.
there. That's like what kind of like it sets me off about New York. Like it's just a big question mark team for me. I would say maybe Paris. I'm really high on Paris.
That would be that would be so good for the show. I would be hyped.
It'd be amazing.
Could you imagine Paris just pulling it off and winning champs? That would be so insane.
That'd be the ultimate what's wrong with Paris drop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that your answer? The dark horse team? I mean,
I
what's
feel
your
like you're gonna say like Rocker or like LA Thieves or something.
what's
but
your realistic
I don't know, man.
highest ceiling for Paris? I mean, winning champ seems a little outrageously unlikely, but I mean, top 4 for them would qualify as a dark horse. I think.
I don't know.
Do you think there's top 4 potential?
I think there could be, honestly. I really do. Like, I don't know. I know people hate it. Like, I'm not very high on Rocker. Like, something about that team just does not speak to me. Something about LA Thieves, like, just it does not speak to me.
Yeah, maybe.
But Paris has that little like je ne sais quoi that like I don't know. There's that thing there, and fire plays a big part in that for me.
Yeah. Maybe next week we can do like a highest, or maybe our quick question next week would be like a highest ceiling, lowest floor type conversation would be kind of fun to have, or maybe like at least maybe a segment on the show next week. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think the ones that come to mind again, there aren't that many options, but the Ultra at this point They're a dark horse contender. They ended up
That's a good
losing.
answer.
They ended up losing to the Rocker, which maybe makes them even more of a dark horse contender because they actually ended up losing. But man, they showed flashes of like, oh my, against a legitly talented Rocker team. And so it's like, okay, I could see where this could make a turn. And that was with Kleenex not playing very well. So there's some potential there for the Ultra. I'll say that they are my dark horse team. And then we can move on to our last few here. Dark horse player.
Yeah.
Who's the most underrated player in your mind that can make the craziest turn to end up being an elite player? Obviously, we had some pretty big hits last year on the sleeper player where, Rex was crying for GodRx going into last season. And, halfway through the year, GodRx was seen as a top 5 player in the league. And I was talking Attach, Sam Pepperstini, which, hey, it's all good.
Dude, I was thinking about Pristine this year too. It's like,
I am honestly too. Pristini's not a horrible answer for that.
Okay, so what's one you got? Which one do you want to throw out?
I'll say Fire though.
Oh, you're really just doubling down here.
Jeez.
I am kind of. I do like
It's
your
a fire
Ultra pick
answer,
for Dark
dude.
Horse team, and I'd probably switch my Dark Horse to Ultra, but I don't know, man. Fire, he's got something special.
I mean, maybe we got to say Bance.
At this point, I mean, that's a pretty good answer.
That's a pretty good answer.
Mm-hmm.
For Dark Horse. I mean, if he's putting out numbers like that all season long.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with you. It is interesting. With Dark Horses, I mean, we've been completely ignoring the London squad, just bodying them.
We
tonight.
sure have.
It's a sad scene, honestly. Yeah. So I could see me just saying Scraps as like the underrated player or the sleeper player, considering everyone seems to be sleeping on London at this point, especially now that they lost to Paris. Rex, who's yours?
I said Fire.
Oh,
I just said about Fire.
I'm sorry. That's your official answer. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I know. Crazy. I don't know, man. He's got that spark.
Yeah.
He's got that fire.
I like it. And then, okay, I'll go. So you're saying Bance for sure? Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Fine. I'll go Scraps then. Fine.
Dude, here's the thing with Scraps. Like, I don't think he played that well in the kickoff.
I don't think he did either, but that's why
I think he was the
he's
detriment to his team, honestly.
That's why he's
a
the sleeper.
sleeper.
He's the underrated player right now that's gonna bust in the best way possible.
Maybe. I don't know. He was dropped from London, and people were like, why? And then we saw him
That's
here.
a positive
and it's like,
term now.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to do our Rookie of the Year. Right?
No. Oh,
No, we didn't do it.
Okay.
No, well, we kind of hinted at it.
Oh.
I think everyone's thinking probably Neptune.
There are currently
Neptune.
only 3 options.
Yes.
Unless you want to like really make the big time
bold
the
prediction.
bold prediction, which I mean, you did make the bold freaking prediction.
I did.
Would Parasite be considered a rookie if he got into the league?
I mean,
The oldest rookie alive.
Yeah.
I would say probably not, considering he played in the Pro League before in past CODs.
Yeah. I wouldn't pick Parasite anyway.
Considering he won a champs.
I mean, Rookie of the Year, I'll pick Neptune.
Chance winners, not rookie.
Okay, I mean, you're going Neptune as well then.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact
We have what? Diamond, Neptune, and Fire?
right now are the 3 options. Yeah. Unless you wanna make a bold prediction that Afro will be the Rookie of the Year.
Or Hydra, if he
Or
ever makes it.
Hydra. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still high on Neptune. I'm sticking
Or
with Neptune.
Paulex. If someone picks up Paul, or that'd be pretty crazy. All right, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to go Neptune. I'll go the 3 for there.
Yeah.
Okay, last 3 picks here: best AR, best SMG, best flex. Best AR, Rex. Who's the best AR in the CDL?
Arcides, I guess. Maybe Skies. Honestly, he did really well.
Mine was Skies.
Damn it!
I might go
I can't
Skies,
go
too.
Skies now. That's so lame.
It's just, I don't know. It's the truth.
We all want to. People want to say Octane, but it just
Not right
it's
now.
just hard to say that when they
Not right
did
now.
so atrocious this year, did so atrocious in this kickoff.
It's Skies right now. It is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the truth.
I think it's Skies
Yeah.
too.
It's
I think he has the right
either Skies or
personality to keep
Arcides.
it up too. I think it's. I'm doubling down Skies for AR. He has the right personality just to be consistently that good.
Again, it's the first match of the year. They won the S&Ds. I'll go Arcitys because I think it's just the truth right now. But Skies is the second best AR right now, and it's very close. But based off what we're seeing, at least how he played in that match, oh my word, it was insane. So again, I'm not going to give it to him just yet, but if he did it again in the kickoff events where he was just destroying people, then it would be Skies. So it's very, very close. Shout out Skies.
It also depends how much were these teams showing. Like maybe FaZe was like handicapping themselves a little bit just so they didn't like give anything away.
Especially in S&D. Maybe they were trying new things in S&D, and that's why they lost both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone played probably really basic S&D.
Or weird.
Like,
yeah, weird or...
Just like nothing. None of their strats are coming out.
And it was no smokes, no snipers, so a lot of the scrims they were doing weren't coming into play, and there was no score streaks in this as well, which, again, does affect how this plays, which we should have probably mentioned earlier when we were talking about that more. But yeah, so there are like a lot of variables that we haven't seen yet, which why it's hard to make full on polls from just this kickoff. So okay, SMGs. Best SMG? Rex.
I mean, Shotzzy.
That is basic, but probably true.
I know. I mean, I literally have Shotzzy on my computer. Like I know it's basic, but it's hard to deny it. I mean, he's phenomenal.
It's pretty crazy. Like, you know,
He defines the movement meta. Like, how do you not pick him?
I mean, it comes down to Shotzzy, the best SMG on the three supposedly best teams. It's Shotzzy, Envoy, and Simp.
Yeah.
And
don't forget a Beezy.
And a Beezy, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still gonna go Simp, but it's probably Shotzzy right now. Yeah. So okay, there you go. And then best flex of the year, Rex.
Illy.
Sam. He was your MVP. You have to say Illy.
I do, but I do want to throw Cell in there too. Cellium. Because I think he's going to be phenomenal as well, like he was last year.
It could be Dashy.
Could be.
I think Dashy's an underrated MVP pick. I don't know if... Because he knows how to get stats. That's the one thing Dashy knows how to do is get stats.
He does.
And, I mean, he was getting stats on Optic last year, and they were getting bodied. So.
But that was Dashy's also sort of downfall, is that he played for stats too much.
Yes.
That's so he has to slow it down to make this Optic squad work, and we saw that happening in this kickoff, which means he's not going to be pulling these crazy stats like he did. He's going to be a great player,
right,
team-wise, but individually, he has to kind of dial it back.
Yeah.
So other people can
people
excel.
are so high on Dashy right now because of that clip of hhim dropping 9K damage in the 8s lobby.
I do remember
where Formal's like, thank God he's on my team, and stuff like that, which was a funny clip for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that, but it's gonna be Illy, man.
Probably Illy.
It's gonna be Illy, baby.
Shout out Illy.
Illy to the moon.
Shout out Illy.
Illy.
But yeah, man, it's hard not to be insanely optimistic about Dallas, about Illy. He showed exactly what we all were hoping to see. We all three have hyped up Illy in this preseason. So hey, man, it was cool to see him dominate, and he had the first 1v3 of the year. Then he had the clutch in the control and the 1v2 after nading himself.
Yeah,
he did kill himself.
That was amazing.
That was funny.
Almost cost it a little bit.
He did. I mean, that nade almost cost it.
Asim choked.
He did.
I'll never forget it.
He did, dude.
Oh man, I can't. I yelled when that happened.
I yelled.
I can't believe he just lost it like that.
Yeah, that was tough, bro. That was really tough. So
tough scenes.
I mean, anything else you guys have to say? Obviously, we're going to talk a lot more next week. We're already at that minute, like 30. We're already at almost an hour 40 mark, which has been a long pod.
Dude, I could talk forever about the results of the CDL kickoff.
Agreed. I'm honestly surprised we kept it even to 140. Yeah. I'll say that was a win.
Yeah.
We prefer to be around the 120 mark, if anything, but you know, hey, it was a big week. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Again, DraftBuff. Join our draft royale. It's going to be a fun time. We're all going to be competing. We might even do some fun prizes. We'll see. And also the giveaway. We forgot to mention that earlier. Yeah. We're still doing the giveaway for the CDL merch. This is the season 1 merch, but we're going to be giving away season 2 merch. We've gotten some hints of it from like Formal was wearing it in one of the videos.
Yeah.
And so it looks sick. So again, the pinned tweet on our Twitter, Best of 3 Pod, the pinned tweet, drop a follow on that account, on all 3 of our accounts, and then drop a reply on the tweet, and you'll be entered. So with that said, DraftBuff, Draft Royale, link down in the description. Follow that, make it happen. Join the DraftBuff and tweet us your fire rosters. Hopefully fire's on the roster. And as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, Josh. To my right is Bash_Scorpio3, Sam, and to our farthest right per use is Rex Shady Nero. And guys, this has been the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.